What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host, joined by the super friends Ryan Wilson and John Breech, plus the purveyor of the power ranks, Pete Prisco. Pete, what's up, buddy?
What is up, guys?
Ryan, John, long time no talk.
How you doing, Pete? You hanging in there after last night's ass whooping?
Jeez.
What was an ass whooping?
I think he's making fun of you for Josh Allen.
Well, he probably gave him a bad evaluation coming out like he does every quarterback he's wrong about.
All right, if you're watching on YouTube,
better than Josh Allen.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe while you're at it. If you're listening on the various podcast platforms, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Lots of stuff in the feed. We'll get to it later. We got a short time with Pete because of some technical difficulties. That's why I'm talking so fast. But we're going to go over Aaron Rodgers' injury, run through Pete's we'll hit his power rankings after Pete goes to do Spotlight HQ, and we'll talk about possible Aaron Rodgers replacements. Pete, is this the most devastating NFL injury you can recall covering, just based on the height, the trade, the expectations, everything involved in Aaron Rodgers and the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, because probably from that standpoint, for sure. I mean, we sat here and listened how many endless hours talking about Aaron Rodgers and what he would mean to the Jets and what he's meant to the team and how he's rejuvenated and how he's a new guy and he goes around New York City and then 4 plays in, goodbye. And now you're back to being the cursed Jets. And this organization at that quarterback position has been cursed. Let's be real. And I said this today on HQ. It's the curse of Bill Belichick. He took the job for one day and then he left. Remember? And he went to New England, and on the way out, he put the whammy on him. I mean, it's been going on longer than that, but the reality is, the bottom line is you have so much buildup, and now it's gone. But the flip side of it is you're now going to play a guy you drafted second overall. You drafted him second overall. So let's go see what he can do. And if your defense is that dominant, hey, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl.
Fair. Do you think, I wrote about this last night, and I was trying not to be like, haha, I told you so, because it made me like, it sucks. This injury sucks. Like, it's awful for the NFL. It's awful for Jets fans. As a long-suffering NC State fan, like, I get it. Like, I understand the feeling that you're going through with this happening. But it's also like, we talked about this a little bit. A 39-year-old quarterback playing behind a bad offensive line, and he was pressured on all three of his dropbacks, and he's playing on this wet field turf that Ryan Wilson likes to complain about. I mean, this was part of the risk by trading for Aaron Rodgers.
Of course, anytime you get a 39-year-old guy, there's going to be risks. And particularly, when you're a guy, yeah, he takes care of his body. He's in good shape. But that quarterback position is so, dangerous and tenuous, and you can hurt yourself doing anything. And, they can blame the turf all they want, but age could be a factor as well. Here's the other thing. The Packers kind of lose in this situation because now they no longer get a first-round pick. When you think, it's callous to say, but that's the reality of the NFL. And Green Bay
Pete, their quarterback looks pretty good.
Oh, his quarterback looked really good, which is why I picked Green Bay to win the division. I like the Packers all along, and I thought Jordan Love had the it factor and the fire in the belly I always talk about, and he played very well on opening day. But again, let's just slow down the roll on everything. It's one game. I mean, really, Tua's going to throw for 9,000 yards, and they're going to score 800 points, and everybody's the greatest in the world, and every rookie who played well is going to be good, and every rookie quarterback who didn't is going to – it's ridiculous. The overreaction is crazy.
If you're making excuses, you're losing. That's all I'll say. What do you think, Breech?
I was just – I don't know if there's overreaction from Jets Bills or just overall in week one.
The whole league. It's the same way every year.
That's why it's fun.
Game. Joe Burrow can't play anymore. Josh Allen stinks. Tua Tagovailoa is better than Dan Marino, and on it goes. It's ridiculous.
So you're saying all those things are fact? That's what you believe?
No, I don't believe any of them.
On the internet.
All right, let's.
I don't believe any of them.
Well, I mean, what do you think? I mean, we'll get to the actual replacements in a second, but like, what do you think this does for the Jets' chances? I know you're hyping up, Zach Wilson taking second overall, and that's awesome. Like you do get a chance. It is a huge redemption chance for Zach Wilson. At the same time, like, where do you fall? So like the Sportsline model or projection system has them going from 9.6 wins to now it's I think it's 6.5 because they won last night. Still like a 10-20% chance maybe to make the playoffs. With the win last night was 5%. Where do you fall on how the Jets will end up with Zach Wilson this year?
Well, that defense is really good, but it better be the 2000 Baltimore Ravens if they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, that's high praise, too, because that's the best scoring defense of all time. They made the playoffs, won the Super Bowl, and won it with Trent Dilfer because that defense was so good. I don't think this defense is that. If this defense was that, they wouldn't allow them to go down the field to kick game-tying field goals. So it's a good defense. I don't know if it's a great, all-time great defense, but it better be if they're going to get to the postseason. As for Zach Wilson, quit scrambling 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You can throw it away. Get the ball out. He does so many things that make you go, oh, my gosh. Now, maybe some of Aaron Rodgers will rub off on him, being around them and watching how he works and doing the reads the same way and go through his progressions. Maybe that'll help him. But last night was not a good indicator, but it's unfair to him because he didn't take the reps with the ones.
I'll just say this. The Jets defense generated 3 interceptions and a turnover, and there was a 50-yard field goal. So let's not act like they look like the Steelers out there.
You get the ball back, you're up 16-13, you're greatest defense of all time, you don't get any yards. Stop it. I mean, they played great. They're good, really dominant defense, but if you're going to be in the conversation for greatest of all time, you better, or one of the greats of all time, and it has to be that to get to the Super Bowl now, you can't let them go get that field goal.
He gave up 3 points in the second half. 3 points.
Greatest of all time is a major stretch, like 1 week into the season.
Yeah.
You think you say the Patriots defense might have looked better than the Jets defense? I mean, if you
what
wanted
was the 76 Steelers, they didn't allow a point. They barely allowed a point in the whole second half of the season. I mean, we get so crazy about the now sometimes in the immediacy of it.
Hey, Breech, I want to make a special team segue so you can ask your question here. Pete is what we like to say, moving the goalposts. Go ahead.
I'm not moving the goalposts at all. Where's the goalpost being moved?
Well, I think you're just saying that you want them to be the best defense of all time and saying that, hey, look, they should have given up this field goal. But I mean, that second half performance was 3 of the 4 turnovers. They only gave up 3 points.
But were those turnovers about the Jets defense, or were they about Josh Allen forcing stupid mistakes?
The first turnover, the first interception didn't matter. It was like a punt. That was nothing. He was third down. He's throwing it out up in the air, and it was like a punt. The second one was a stupid throw. The third one was a sophomoric throw.
Oh,
how do you not read that through and throw that into the hunt? He's trying to throw it into the honey hole, gets covered too, and then safety's over the top. You can't do that.
We got honey hole talk on a Tuesday.
And so I think, and here's the problem with Josh Allen, and I'm going to get to that in a second, is the fact that he tries to do too much. Hero ball has to stop. Don't quit giving up your body. You can't run over people. Like when the fumble, fall on it. You don't need to pick it up. Fall on it and live for the next play. That's always been his problem, and it's something he's got to get out of him.
Well, he ain't a spring chicken, so he needs to.
Breech, are you going to ask him about Tom Brady, or what's the deal? You're going to just ask the question. You're the first person I know to float Tom Brady. You're like, Tom Brady? Immediately. So go ahead and ask the question.
Pete, do you think the Jets should stick with Zach Wilson, or do you think they should call Tom Brady and say, get the hell out here and play for us?
Doesn't Tom Brady have to divest his interest of the Raiders before
I think the owners would have to approve him 24.
Guessing Robert Kraft won't vote yes.
That's one nay.
I think they would force him to sell his interest in the Raiders. I don't think Tom Brady's coming back. I think Tom Brady's done. I mean, he could. Why wouldn't he have gone? If he was going back, he could have gone back to Tampa. He's not going back. I don't think he's going to play again. I think he wants to spend time with his family. He had the ceremony. No, Matt Ryan's the one they should call if they're going to call anybody. Get him out of CBS.
I was going to ask you that, Pete, because I saw in your power rankings as I put the newsletter together this morning, you wrote that Matt Ryan still wants to play. Is that firsthand information, or
he wants to play? He hasn't filed his retirement papers. He said it all along. He wants to play. If I'm the Jets, I'd make that call. Matt Ryan could win them a Super Bowl, and he could win one.
Wow,
I wouldn't go that far.
Would he would you then rank him above Matthew Stafford?
I rank him above Matthew Stafford right now. You don't. I do.
I know. I love Matt Ryan. I'm a big Matt Ryan fan. Our colleague Matt Ryan. And he also, like, when he joined up with CBS, he literally tweeted, "This is not a retirement post."
Right. He wants to play. And,
do you think
he'd be wise to call him?
Can he play behind that offensive line?
Yeah, Matt Ryan can move.
Pete,
believe me, for his career, he's played behind much worse offensive lines for much of his career.
That's why he's in the media. He got tired of getting hit. Let me ask you this, because our buddy Rick Spielman said this earlier today on the old draft podcast, that whoever they get, if they do get someone, that they should be mobile because of the reasons we're talking about here. Let me throw some names at you, and you tell me if they make sense on any level. Trubisky, Jacoby Brissett, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke. All guys.
You just give time to answer each one.
I wouldn't bother with any of those guys.
Who would you roll with?
I'd go get Matt Ryan before I get any of those guys. And if I can't get Matt Ryan, I'll play with Zach Wilson. What do you? Is there any difference between Mitch Trubisky? What? Yeah, you get. I mean, if you want to get a backup, hey, Joe Flacco still wants to be. A backup,
how do you feel about Carson Wentz?
Yeah, Carson Wentz.
No.
Okay. What about Phillip Rivers?
I mean, if he wants to play, I'd make the call.
Let's go,
Jameis. Eat a W, Winston.
I like him the
why
best.
would you trade? Why would you trade? I don't understand why they would trade for anybody. I don't like. I mean,
you're all in on the Super Bowl this season.
What about Minshew?
All in on the Super Bowl?
What about Minshew?
I don't know.
I mean, they're done. Unless that defense is an all-time defense, they're done. No matter who comes in.
Prisco,
other than Matt
let me ask you about one more guy.
Oh no, I know who it is.
Andrew Gregory Dalton.
Who did he say?
Andy Dalton.
I mean, he's better than Zach Wilson.
Well,
he made a living off taking great defenses to your he's your average quarterback.
He's better than Zach Wilson.
But I mean, Andy Dalton is notoriously stinks behind a bad offensive line. Like the second that Andrew Whitworth left for the Rams, he like collapsed and has been a lifetime backup since then.
That was a little bit.
His skills have eroded. I mean, Andy Dalton was a better quarterback than people give him credit for in his heyday, but his skills have eroded.
Andy Dalton is better served being like a mentor. In a mentor role than he is in my opinion, than like for Bryce Young than being like
of all the names out there, the one that's the best is Matt Ryan. And I don't know if Matt Ryan wants to do it.
I don't know how you think
you don't know. I think Matt Ryan
offensive line though.
Because Matt Ryan you forget Matt Ryan could move. And that's the amazing thing when he was in Atlanta, he could move a little bit. He was still getting
how did it work out in Indianapolis?
That wasn't good. But
well, I mean, but they also completely like gave up on that season because Jim Irsay's a bit of a wild card.
And Jim Irsay made him give up on that season. And when I went to camp there in the summer last year, and everybody in that place was raving, including guys on the defensive side of the ball, were raving about Matt Ryan and what he meant to the offense. And then we had like couple bad games, and they benched him.
What about
would trading for Ryan Tannehill be a possibility?
Why? So I can throw interceptions, change uniforms, and throw them for the Jets? No.
Jeez.
I wouldn't get him either.
What about someone who on Tuesday said he wants to play for the Jets? Colin Kaepernick.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Passing along the message.
Did you see the
Jordan Schultz?
What is it? He has what was it? 8 years ago he played. When was the last time he played?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. How about a guy who didn't say he wants to play for the Jets, but kind of said he wants to play for the Jets on Get Up on Tuesday morning? RG3 said, like, did you see that clip?
I saw it. It'd take him a month and a half to learn how to learn the offense. No. RG3, when he could move around and run around, was fine. When he couldn't move anymore, not any good. So, and nobody will sit there and say it. I saw that clip. They're raving, oh, you were so great before your injury. And then he got hurt and he wasn't the same. No.
The faces that Foxworth and Graziano made when he said that were pretty incredible. All right. Pete has to go do CBS Sports HQ Spotlight.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan is the answer. Clip and save it. Put it on social. Pete, thanks for hanging out. We're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we will rip apart Pete's power rankings next.
Shred 'em.
We don't get a try run. We only get one life. So enjoy the ride. Just live your life. One day at a time. Enjoy the ride.
All right, welcome back to the Pick Six Podcast. Will Brinson along with Ryan Wilson and John Breech. Pete Prisco had to bounce. We had some technical issues, but man, great job by our excellent production crew in the background. Sam, Nada, new guy Harry, taking care of business and getting that thing, and everybody at the studio as well, getting that handled and getting us some Pete action to read. Because Pete, like Prisco reacting to Aaron Rodgers and then reacting to like a list of names about possible Aaron Rodgers replacements, just wow, dynamic. So great job, everyone, on that. Let's get to Pete's power rankings, though, guys, and we'll get to rip him apart without Pete being able to respond, which is kind of fun. I'm a little miffed. I'm a little bummed, actually, because I think this is actually a good week to shred Pete, because he says, and his whole thing is like, don't overreact, don't overreact, don't overreact. And then, like, he kind of overreacts in a pretty aggressive way to these power rankings. The biggest risers on Pete's list, actually the biggest riser on Pete's list, My Los Angeles Rams up 11 spots to number 20. I would actually argue that that's not that huge of an overreaction. 11 spots is a ton. I just think the Rams were too low at 31 before, Pete. What were you thinking? The Rams are just better than that. Everybody knows that.
Do they, though?
I did. People who know ball. Do you know ball?
Brinson,
I know ball.
we had a power ranking show last week. You didn't take Brinson to task for his Rams ranking.
Yeah, I did. We'll have to check the tape here, okay? I mean, clearly I'm higher on the Rams than the consensus out there, but do you think the Rams at 20 too high, too low? Was that, and we talked about it on Sunday night's recap show. If you haven't watched that, make sure and check it out. Every Sunday night, me, Wilson, and Breech live after the Sunday Night Football show on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6 or youtube.com/NFL and CBS, I think.
NFL and CBS.
Well, you can still type in pick 6 and it redirects. You can also, if you go to that channel and subscribe, you can watch With the First Pick, Ryan Wilson, the draft show that Ryan Wilson hosts with former Vikings GM Rick Spielman. How would you guys feel? What do you guys think about the Rams at 20? And
Breech, this feels just about right for me. I thought Matthew Stafford played incredible. No Cooper Kupp, and Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua, the rookie, both had plus 100 yards. We talked about that on Sunday night. 20, that sounds like a good starting point. And I don't think 31 or wherever they were before was about right. I think the arrow is pointing up, as we like to say.
Well, I think that the Rams probably had the most shocking win in week one.
Well, the Jets probably, but yeah.
Well, but the Jets defense is supposedly going to be an all-time great defense, and they played really well. With the Rams, we had a team that everyone thought was going to be bad, play a team that most people thought was going to be a playoff contender in the Seahawks. And the game wasn't, I mean, they destroyed them. We talked about 12 yards in the second half. That's all Seattle had. Matthew Stafford found some new weapons. And yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, whatever he's doing there, got his guys going in the second half, and they looked awesome. So yeah, I agree with Wilson. I think 20 feels about right now.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't want to just thinking about who's ahead of them. I mean,
two questions for you. Where would you put them, number one? And number two, if they're like 14th, you think they're going to be a playoff team then?
I think there's a chance they're a playoff team. Yeah.
You didn't say what chance? Could be 1%.
No. I mean, one of my bold predictions was Stafford gets an MVP vote. So I mean, like, clearly I was in on the Rams, like to at least some degree. It's hard. It was hard to be in on them because you look at the weapons. Cooper Kupp's on IR. He's going to miss the first 4 games, and you're like, how could this team possibly be good? Aaron Donald may just be that good. Like, he may just take over every game this season, and there's nothing that offenses can do about it. And he's that good of a defensive player where that could be the case. And I don't know if you guys have gone back and watched the game, but Matthew Stafford made some pretty insane throws. Like,
where would you have him?
And those were throws he wasn't making last season with his elbow bothering him all season.
Exactly. I would have them above. I would have them above the Falcons, Steelers, Buccaneers. And I would move the I think the Commanders at 14 are too high. So I would have them right about 15, the Rams at 15. I think they look like they've got Sean McVay, they got Matthew Stafford, they got Aaron Donald, man. Like
all three guys they had last year.
Kind of everyone got beat up. They were definitely injured last year.
Yeah, the offensive line like protected a lot better. Seattle was banged up. I'm not saying they're going to roll through the season or anything, and I think San Francisco, Pete's number 1 team, I mean, clearly the best team in the division. Like, they're not going to challenge for that. But I just think they're I think week 1, I feel like my prior was that the Rams would be better than people think. And we sort of got there early on. All right. Pete's 2 biggest fallers, 2 teams tied for being down 9 spots. The Bills down from, I can do math apparently, 3 to 12, and the Bengals down from 4 to 13. Breech. The Bengals, the 13th best team in the NFL after one. Pete's like, never ever react. Don't ever react. You can't ever react. Whatever you do, you don't ever react. That was a specific.
Yeah, Mr. I don't overreact to week 1 overreacts to week 1 by dropping both the Bills and the Bengals out of the top 10.
Behind the Jets.
Lunacy.
The Jets.
Yeah. Look, I talked about the Bengals a lot on Sunday, the fact that they get off to slow starts. They're never good in week 1. Burrow misses all training camp. Not worried at all. This is too low. The Bengals are still one of the 10 best teams in the NFL. They did look putrid, but, Pete, I would have kept them in the top 10. I would have dropped them. You have to drop them because they look so bad. And with the Bills, I don't know if I would have dropped them 9 spots, probably keep them in the top 10. Also, the Jets would be behind both teams. Definitely, probably the Packers behind both teams, and that puts the Bills and Bengals in top 10. Because I hate when you say, or someone on Twitter or whatever says, oh, well, this team should be higher, but they don't say what team they would replace. Well, what team are you going to take out? Or when you're ranking top 10 quarterbacks or top 10 anything, you gotta move all the blocks so the puzzle fits together. So I would move the Jets and Packers down and put the Bills and Bengals in top 10.
So which team do you feel better about right now, the Bengals or the Bills?
The team that didn't lose to Zach Wilson on Monday night.
Yeah, but I mean, do we think that which defense do we? I mean, maybe the Browns' defense is
they're good?
Yeah, or are they as good as the Jets?
No, not according to Pete, but that because Pete thinks there should be the 85 Bears. But I'll say this though, I think you feel better about the Bills if you're maybe a fan. Only because Zach Wilson is, in fact, going to be the quarterback going forward, or unless it's Joe Flacco or whatever. So I think in that sense, in general, I feel better about the Bengals' chances. But in specifics, I think the Bills beating that division without, although my guy Mac Jones making some noise, just so you know.
Like this about Mac Jones. Classic Wilson.
So like if you were like I'm trying to think what the bet would be here, where you have to pick between the Bengals or the Bills. I don't know, the Bills also is really, really bad.
Who finishes with a better record? Would that be the bet?
Yeah, maybe so. But I mean, also you can, we make the case. It's like Joe Burrow just can't beat the Browns. Well, I mean, Josh Allen really struggles against the Jets. I mean, the Jets have had his number the last 3 outings, and he's been otherwise fairly fine. Although there's turnover. I think here's the bigger concern for me with the Bills versus the Bengals is the Bengals have started slow the past 3 years, basically with Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow got hurt and they sort of started slow. The offense didn't get rolling. And then they started cooking about, a quarter of the season in, whereas the Bills have been really good. And then last year, Josh Allen has all these turnovers and everybody's complaining Josh Allen was Dak Prescott. He'd be getting roasted on Fox Sports 1 or whatever. And maybe they're right, but the turnovers coming back into this season, and then week 1 it gets done and Josh Allen says same bleep, different day. That's the big red flag.
Indeed. It is very much the red flag. And I think you have to be concerned about that. And to sort of prop up Breech's Bengals, Joe Burrow had all sorts of issues coming into the last 3 seasons. And I would imagine, Breech, you were less concerned about the way he played week 1 this week and week 1 last year against the Steelers, where he had 4 interceptions, I think, knowing that he's going to come around. I don't know if Josh Allen's going to quit doing the things that Pete talked about in terms of forcing the ball downfield, playing hero ball, trying to win with his legs and getting absolutely plastered and losing the ball in those situations.
Well, that's the difference, is that what we saw from Josh Allen in week 1 is what we've seen from him for the past 3 years. We're just making these crazy turnovers that don't make any sense. Just don't throw those passes. Don't fumble that football. Whereas Joe Burrow, that was the outlier. Joe Burrow doesn't normally play games like that. We haven't seen that. That's not something that happens consistently. So I would absolutely be more worried about Josh Allen than I'm about Joe Burrow.
2 more risers really quickly, just to tack them on the 40. What do you feel more confident about, the 49ers at 1 or the Cowboys at 5?
49ers all day long. I mean
49ers should be 1, right? After that performance.
Yeah. And how good that team is top to bottom. I was Nick Bosa won't be there, or if he is, he won't be ready. They didn't need him. I mean, Javon Hargrave plays on that team, former Steeler. He was crushing people. Drake London, their 2nd-round pick from a year ago, had 3 sacks. They had 2 interceptions, and you can make all the excuses you want. Well, the Steelers face the best team in football. Well, the Steelers are supposed to be, everyone's media darling and possibly a playoff team. And they went, as Breech likes to point out, they traveled across the country, probably the 2nd longest trip outside of Seattle.
Drake Jackson, by the way, not London.
Drake Jackson, sorry, yeah.
No
USC. And then played an AM game on their time zone, and you would have thought the Steelers had traveled from Hawaii on a red eye and landed at the stadium and played football there the way that it looks. So, yeah, absolutely 49ers. Brock Purdy is the real deal. And Dak Prescott is basically Josh Allen 2.0 for me.
And yeah, Drake London, Drake Jackson, both USC guys. So a very reasonable.
Breech bot thinks that the Cowboys should be at number 5. I actually agree with this. The 49ers definitely look like the best team. Dak and that offense, we just don't know anything about them yet. Maybe they'll put up 40 points when the offense actually contributes. Cowboys looked awesome, but the 49ers, I feel like, had the best all-around game. When you look at Pete's top 5, I was more, the one that caught my eye was how he was able to sneak Jacksonville into his top 3. I'm not sure that I'm
Oh
ready to
my
call the
gosh.
Jags one of the 3 best teams in the NFL. Can you say homer?
That's a great. I totally missed that.
It's a little aggressive moving the Jags ahead of the Chiefs. The week
Or the
that the Jaguars. Well, the week that the Jaguars
or the Browns or the Dolphins.
But the Jaguars and Chiefs are playing this week, and the Chiefs are favored in Jacksonville.
Okay,
So
let me ask a question.
like-
The Jaguars are 3. I'm going to ask. I'll start at the bottom. Who should be ranked higher, the Lions or the Jaguars?
Jaguars. That's close.
Breach.
Lions are low and Jaguars are high
I'll
relative.
probably
to
go Jags.
I would take the Lions. The
I'll probably have
Packers.
Jacksonville.
The Packers or the Jags?
Jaguars.
Jacksonville.
That one's closer. I think the Lions are better than the Packers, but whatever.
Sure. Lions are too low at 10 for sure.
Dolphins or Jags after what they did on the road?
Dolphins.
Yeah.
I'll take the Jaguars.
I don't know why. Oh, because you have Trevor Lawrence winning MVP. That's why. The Browns or the Jags? I'll take the Jags there, but only because of the weather.
Browns.
You think it's the Browns?
Yeah.
Or
I
you
think
just
the
saying that because
Jaguars.
they beat the Bengals?
I think it's tough because we saw a lot from the Browns defense, but we still don't know on the Browns offense. I feel very, very confident the Jaguars offense is going to be.
Well,
one
where
of the
would
best
you
in
have
football.
Jacksonville, Brinson? Let's just say that.
I
Where
would
you
have Jacksonville 5.
I would have
Jim
them. I would have them like between 8 and 10.
I would have them 9th.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
There you
I mean, 3 is pretty freaking high for the Jaguars.
You said Jags every time I asked the team. So why is that too high?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying it's like it's. I mean, I'm agreeing with the. I'm not disagreeing. I said that I'm at 5. I think Pete at 3 is a little high, and it is certainly a talking point that will probably generate some buzz. I
Did
would
you give us
imagine
the
that
2 teams that you would have 3 and 4.
I would move the Cowboys. I would move the Chiefs up to 3. And I'm not writing off the Chiefs already. That's the overreaction. Is like you're like, oh well, the Chiefs are worse than the Jaguars. I would move the Chiefs and Cowboys above the Jaguars, and have the Jaguars at 5. I would probably slide the Dolphins up to 6. Browns still at 7. Actually, maybe I move the Lions to 7. Browns 8. Ravens 9. Packers 10. I think is what I would do.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty rich. That's a good catch, Breach.
Yeah, that's a good call. Okay, what about the ranking? Actually, you know what? Since somebody who's not hosting the show went rogue and brought up the top 10, and we broke that down in a separate part of the rundown, we will now take another break. And when we come back, we will talk about which ranking of Pete's is most likely to look stupid in 2 weeks. Next. All right, welcome back to the Pick Six Podcast Show here on, I almost said CBS Sports HQ. I don't know why I would do that. We're not. We have been.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's just forced to have it. Will Brinson joined by Ryan Wilson and John Breech. This is the Power Ranking Show. Ordinarily, Pete Prisco will be with us for this entire show. We had some technical difficulties, and as such, Pete is doing CBS Sports HQ Spotlight. Highly recommend you check it out on CBS Sports Network. I got my face kicked in by 1-4 on my first week of the picks against the coach. They did some fancy graphics, and I've since seen the graphics where they update them with the record, and that's an unfortunate situation for me. So I got to tighten that up a little bit. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock, I think, maybe 3 o'clock, something like that. I'll tweet it out and let you know. You can follow me on Twitter at Will Brinson, at Ryan Wilson _070707 CBS on Twitter, and at John Breech. Follow the podcast at Pick Six Pod as well. If you're listening on podcast platforms, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Get notified when we go live, as we do on Sunday nights after Sunday Night Football. All right, which ranking of Pete's, Wilson? Actually, you took my favorite choice for this. Which ranking of Pete's is most likely, out of all his 32 rankings, most likely to look stupid 2 weeks from now?
It may not be your favorite choice after I get to the nitty gritty details of the schedule coming up.
Yeah,
but
the schedule's a bit of a.
I went with number 27 on Pete's list, the New England Patriots, who are not 24 spots worse than the Jaguars. Let's be honest here. So New England getting their doors blown off in the first 18 and a half minutes of that game in Foxborough against the Eagles. And then they woke up. Bill O'Brien, halftime speech, was all about not being Matt Patricia, so you guys need to snap to it, and that's exactly what they did. And look, man, they had a chance to win that game late. Breach. Kayshon Boutte, the rookie, did not get a second foot down on that 4th down conversion. deep in Eagles territory. So I was impressed. The defense is good. We knew they were going to be good. The offense was a question mark. The wide receiver was a bigger question mark. Kendrick Bourne looks like the number 1. Juju Smith-Schuster looks like the number 8. So hopefully he can get his act together. But I was impressed with the moral victory that was the 25-20 loss to the Patriots. The issue, of course, is the upcoming schedule. So next they host the Dolphins. You better hope for a snowstorm because typically the Dolphins don't play well in cold weather, but it is September. At the Jets, at the Cowboys, and then
it's in 2 weeks. So it's like it's Dolphins and then at Cowboys.
So
no, Dolphins and at Jets. Look, I agree with you. Like the Dolphins is obviously problematic, but if that defense is as good as it looked against Philadelphia, and I think it looked a lot better. Like the Eagles really should have scored, doing the quick math, like what, 11 points? I mean,
they were gifted 2 touchdowns. Yes.
Yeah, they were basically gifted 2 touchdowns. They had a 21-yard drive because Zeke Elliott fumbled, and then they had the pick 6. And obviously those points still count, but it wouldn't have been like that shocking. Like the Patriots defense did a really good job of limiting the Eagles offense. If they can do that against the Dolphins, and I think it's harder depending on the weather and what the Dolphins bring. It's just harder in a different way, right? The Eagles are going to run the ball, and they do have 2 vertical wide receivers, but man, you gotta limit.
The thing. I'll say this: Christian Gonzalez, the rookie, I went back and watched all his snaps. He had a pretty good outing. Now, listen, you're going up against AJ.
Yeah, that's great sack too.
AJ Smith and AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith. So he took some lumps, but he also down the stretch had the sack Brinson mentioned, and then on the 4th and 2 to get the ball back, he had the pass breakup on the slant by AJ Brown.
That was great coverage.
Smith ran the slant there. So they ain't playing the Chargers defense, Breach. So I think there's an opportunity for them in that game to make some plays if they don't have the stupid turnovers that they had in the first half.
And that Jets, by the way, that Jets Patriots over under is going to be like 28, and Belichick has earned the Jets, for a long period of time, Breach. So I don't think it's crazy to suggest the Patriots are 2-1 with 2 division wins, and Pete does look stupid for having it at 27 when they really should be like 15 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, 27 is definitely too. I mean, look, he has the Eagles at 2, and like you guys already said, the Patriots had them on the ropes, and the Eagles won because they got gifted 2 touchdowns. If you're number 2,
which of these teams right now are you taking over the? Stop me when I find a team you want over the Patriots. Broncos, Raiders,
Patriots,
Vikings.
No.
Titans.
Patriots. Oh gosh, no.
Giants.
Patriots.
Not now.
Seahawks.
I wish.
Patriots.
Rams.
Patriots.
Falcons.
Probably Patriots.
In close.
I would go Falcons and Rams over Patriots, but Steelers.
I take the Patriots. Patriots will beat them 50.
Wow.
I'll defer to Ryan.
Who?
Bucks.
I mean,
I take the Patriots over the Bucks.
Baker had a little moment for himself.
Saints.
Patriots.
I'm just saying the Patriots should be like a top 15-ish team. They should be 15-20 right now. 27 is way too low. I think if they win the next 2 games, people feel very stupid about that.
I think Pete did that because I like Mac Jones and he doesn't, and he feels bad about how Josh Allen had an issue on national television.
I think that's Pete trying to tell us that he thinks Belichick is washed up.
I mean, I've got one that sort of correlates to that. By the way, I think he'll look stupid in 2 weeks. How about the Jets at 11?
Oh, that was mine.
Oh, you didn't put in the rundown. I will let you have it.
Oh no, I got another one. I always come with 2.
Yeah, good. I had another one prepared just in case. The Jets at 11. The Jets have to play the Cowboys and the Patriots. They go the Cowboys,
and then after that, the Chiefs.
Right, but I mean, I'm just saying, just 2 weeks from now, like the Jets are really likely to be 1-2, even if they bring in our colleague Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers could be healthy, and like 1-2 wouldn't be off the table against the Cowboys, and then even at home against the Patriots. So, like, I just don't understand how. I mean,
I don't hate it. I mean, so, how are you doing the rankings? Are you doing reactionary week to week, or are you just still projecting long term?
I mean, I'm moving the Zach Wilson led Jets down out of the top 15 very easily. Like, congrats on the win, but sorry. I mean, like, you lost Aaron Rodgers. Like, the Jets would sign in blood. Every single member of the Jets would, except Zach Wilson, would sign in blood to lose that game against the Bills if Aaron Rodgers is completely healthy coming out.
Yeah, but they beat the Bills at home, come from behind win,
and lost Aaron Rodgers for the season.
As Breach mentioned, the defense was dominant in the second half. I think they have to be above the Bills this week.
I mean,
I think you can take into account the whole situation, which is the fact they lost their starting quarterback. They're probably only going to win 6 games at most.
It's the worst win in NFL history.
I mean, the question is, what's it going to look like in 2 weeks? And I think Brinson's right. I have a hard time seeing them beat the Cowboys. And I have a hard time seeing them beat the Patriots. So 2 weeks from now, this feels like a team that's not going to be even ranked in the top.
Let me
20.
ask a.
This is team's 25 after they get blasted by the Cowboys.
Let me ask this question though. Okay. This defense is good. Sure. Disregarding what Pete was blathering on about because he was just trying to make excuses for Josh Allen. There's a scenario 2 weeks after.
There's a path.
I can't use that word anymore, especially when it comes to Dallas. There's a scenario where Josh Allen 2.0, Dak Prescott, has a Josh Allen 1.0 performance against the Jets. Now it's in Dallas. I get that, but I'm just saying that game looks like the spread should be, 28. But I don't know, man. Now, don't get me wrong. Zach Wilson is the wild card, no doubt about it. But if he can just give the ball to Breece Hall 10 times and throw a bunch of screens to Garrett Wilson, maybe.
I just think I think the defenses that they're going to face the next 2 weeks with the Cowboys and the Patriots are going to be too tough for Zach Wilson behind that offensive line. Look,
Do we know if the Cowboys defense is good?
I feel confident the Cowboys defense is good. I have no idea about the offense.
The Giants, I don't know. I don't think they practiced all summer. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Breech. You got a ranking that will look dumb in the next 2 weeks.
After thinking about this very closely, and just to say I totally agreed with Brinson about the Jets, I'm going to go with one, and half the people in Ohio are going to hate me, but I think maybe the Cleveland Browns.
I thought about that one too, but it's like, when they get are they at the Steelers on Monday night, and then
at the Steelers, and then they play the Titans, who
oh my god, maybe 3-0. What are you talking about?
It might be. You're saying they're too low.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they're number 7 right now, and if they lose either one of those games, they're not going to be in the top 10.
What if they win both?
I don't think they're going to win both. I think they go 1-1.
All right, I'll ask Brinson first then. Probability they go 2-1 versus the probability they go 3-0. Give me the numbers for both of those scenarios, Brinson.
The probability of them going 2-1
and
versus
3-0.
I would say it's like 75% that they go 2-1 and 25% they go 3-0.
What do you think? You like those numbers, Breech?
Wait, in the next 2 or 3 games?
2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.
I think they're more like. I mean, I just think it's like, is it the Titans on the road or Titans at home?
Titans.
It could be on Mars. That game's going to be a blowout.
I don't know. They're coming off a short week. They have to play in Pittsburgh against a rival. You get beat up by Steelers defense. Yeah, I watched Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill forgot how to play football.
I looked at the Browns initially. I was like, that's an easy one. And then I was like, those 2 games are not great.
Well, I just had to take my most controversial one. I had one other one
pretty
too.
Controversial. I think there's a 2/3 chance that they're 3-0.
Wow, 66.6%. Mark of the devil.
Yeah, it's Cleveland.
I got two more teams I'm going to float out there, and they actually play each other. So this is why I didn't go with either one of them. The Falcons are at 19. I watched the whole Falcons game, whole Falcons Carolina game. I think the Falcons defense is a lot better than people think. They get the Packers at home Sunday at 1:00, and Green Bay looked good. Don't get me wrong, but I think Atlanta can definitely win that game. And then the week after, they're at Detroit. So I like, and Detroit was going to be the other one because they get Seattle and then Atlanta at home, back-to-back games. Like Detroit at 10 could look way too low if they beat the Seahawks and Falcons at home, and they'll be favored by 3+ points in both of those games. So really, it came down to like, who do you think wins Atlanta at Detroit? I still think Atlanta at 19 is way too low, regardless. But in 2 weeks, I'm not with Packers and Lions on deck. I wasn't entirely confident. Like they could be 1-2, and it wouldn't be that shocking. But I think they'll be at least 2-1. And so 19 will feel too low. I think Detroit at 10, like I think they'll be top. If they're 3-0, they'll obviously be top 5 in 2 weeks.
Well, not obviously. They should be higher than they are now. But I think
I'm saying. Yeah, I think there's just not room with the Falcons. There's a lot of room for like win one of those games, win both of those games, and like you go from 19 to 10. Like there's just not a ton of room to move up if you're in the top 10.
I agree.
Agreed. I'll throw one more out there. The Washington Commanders. They are 14th. Top 14 teams make the playoffs, kind of. But
Pete had making the playoffs before the season too.
that's what I assumed. You know, the Commanders play the next 2 weeks. They play at Denver. That's no lock. And then they play Buffalo at home. And this is after coming off a game where they almost lost to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals.
Josh Dobbs led Cardinals, who are as bad on offense as everyone thought they were going to be, and somehow still almost beat the Commanders. So on the road.
The Commanders could lose their next 2 games, and then they'll be down. Maybe they'll switch spots with the Patriots down at 27. But that
Commanders' offensive line, as Pete notes in the power rankings, had major issues. Like that's Sam Howell can run around. He's actually like way underrated in terms of his mobility. But I mean, I agree with you. I think Commanders at 14 is a bit like I would trust the Patriots to get to 2-1. Like I would prefer the Patriots and Falcons to the Commanders for sure. Right now.
Yeah.
Steelers too high or too low at 18?
The fact that they made the rankings is a moral victory with which I will take.
The Bears.
They're too high. I don't know where they are on this list. They're too high.
30. They're behind. They're
way too high.
Way too high. Should be behind the Texans. Cardinals. I mean, you can make the case the Bears are 32nd right now. Throw the Cardinals a bone and move them up 1.
The Cardinals played better than the Bears did.
I think the Panthers could be a little low at 28.
Yeah. I mean, why?
Hey, we're nitpicking here, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. We got close enough to the appropriate time for covering the show. Great job, everybody, today. Unusual conditions. And yet we weathered the storm of Pete Prisco and his power ranks. That'll do it for us. If you're watching on YouTube, again, hit the subscribe button, press the like button, leave a comment. Tell us which team you think is ranked too high, too low, or just right. However you want to do it. If you're listening on the audio version, however you get your podcast, give us a 5-star review. For Wilson, for Breech, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.